Okay, welcome back to the History of Humanics podcast. This is episode 7. I'm your host, Danny Priest, and I am joined by the first officially retired distinguished professor of humanics who I've interviewed, which is exciting, Carol Mitchell. And you were a humanics professor in 2013, 2014. I'm sure that feels like a long time ago now, but thank you for joining me today. And how's things with you? Are you staying busy and entertained?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. The pandemic has been really terrible, but um, I think that there are other things that I've been able to do, which I'll probably talk about during our interview,
Yeah.
that I think have been very good goals. And also I've been able to have some fun reading a lot of books and watching a lot of movies. So uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's been it's just been a really tough time for people. We're going to be getting our husband and I are going to be getting our shots tomorrow, our first shots. So we're going to celebrate with champagne.
Yeah. Hopefully we're on the tail end of this whole thing, but that's good that you can the first round of things. It's always a positive. So like
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
nah, we'll get into it some more as we go. But just for people listening, you were when you were at Springfield, you were a professor of English and film, and you were with the school for a long time. So you just want to kind of quickly before we get into some more in-depth questions, just mention the year you retired and just want you kind of think of your overall experience at Springfield. I'm sure it's easy to answer about 40 years on the spot, right?
Yes. Yes. It was a wonderful career. I can't think of a better one that I could have had. I really enjoyed um, the students so much. It was fantastic to be able to work with them and to be able to teach my film courses, as well as literature and writing skills. All of these things were really important for me. And I had wonderful colleagues throughout my time there. Um, and just, I really think it was the best career that I could have.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And to start, let's just get right into that. So being kind of like a film fine arts person as you are, in terms of humanics, that's pretty unique. There's not really a lot of people who have come from that realm and served as a professor of humanics. So how did your career kind of unfold and move towards that direction it did? I know like you got a bunch of degrees from UMass Amherst, but what's kind of the whole story from that?
Well, it started when I was a child. I was fortunate to grow up in a loving household with my parents, my grandparents, my mother's cousin, and I was really nurtured by my grandmother's fervent love of the movies. I would have uh, childhood visits with her to multiple films in downtown Springfield each weekend. We'd see a double feature, go to the Canton Chinese restaurant for dinner and see another double feature, and then we do the same thing the next day. Uh, and she had wonderful scrapbooks that I used to look over with glamorous stars such as Jennifer Jones, Robert Taylor, Ava Gardner. And I just became a fan. I just loved movies the way she did. Um, and I would also go to the Burr Theater in Ludlow, my hometown, with my good friend Dorothy. And we would have $1 with us and we'd pay for the admission. And then we'd just buy candy with all the rest of it and see many films together. And in my early teens, we saw the film Trapeze, and that starred Tony Curtis, Burt Lancaster, and Gina Lollobrigida. And the film was about a romantic triangle of three big top aerialists. And I liked it so much that I went to see it 6 more times that week at the theater, dragging each member of my family to come with me on a different night to see it. And so the film ends with Gina choosing Bert, which I was very happy about. He was partially disabled due to a fall from the trapeze. And then Tony Curtis became the superstar flyer. So everybody was happy, and I was hooked. uh, so, and then in subsequent years, as a grad student working toward my PhD at UMass, I was really happy to be able to teach the undergraduate course Rhetoric of Film. Um, and that also inspired me to write an interdisciplinary dissertation on film and literature. So I was connecting those together, and I actually wound up with a final chapter that compared the Faulkner's Absalom, Absalom and Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. And I looked at the structure of each, and each one discusses or looks at a man who had a very uh, prominent man, or I shouldn't say prominent, but kind of just bigger than life person, who is seen through the lenses of 4 or 5 different narrators, and each of them tries to let us know what that person was like. And we don't get it from the first person, we get it from each one of these subjective views of the main character in each one. So I loved it. I loved writing that. It was so much fun. Um, and I've always loved the Academy Awards ceremonies. That's my Super Bowl. And my husband David and my son Matthew and I would always fill out our ballots after doing some research, and then we'd sit down in front of the TV with all kinds of luscious appetizers and champagne, and score the winners. Watch all the glitterati of actors and actresses and directors and screenwriters and everyone, coming to get their awards. And then the winner of the contest, we were very competitive, was treated to a dinner out paid for by the other two. So it was it was fantastic. And then just during my career at Springfield College, my specialty was teaching film courses such as crime film, athlete in film, women in film, political film, film comedy, the Western. And in addition, I was a member and then became chair of the William Simpson Fine Arts Committee for approximately 20 to 25 years. And that committee provided events for the college and the public in the areas of music, film, dance, theater, art, and literature. And I also served as a founding member and president of the Springfield Film Society, which originally met at the Springfield Museum, and then later I got it moved to Springfield College. So that, that was a lot of my background with film.
Yeah, and just a quick sidetrack off of that, I've never taken a film class myself or anything kind
Ooh.
of in that realm. So, how do you kind of like teach a film class and also learn a film class? Is it a lot of like evaluating like characters and plots? Like, how does that all kind of work?
Well, there are a lot of these so-called literary terms, as you just said, characters, plots,
Mhm.
themes, um, those types of things. But also, we look at shots and angles and lighting and, so many other aspects that are cinematic aspects of film. And we can learn a lot, through that as well, as just rather than just looking at the more literary aspects. So a kind of a combination of both. And, using shadow in film noir, or some of the you know frightening films in sci-fi to create darkness or different aspects, and close-ups of people versus long shots, and someone looking from above down at some character, and that character looks tiny, and that may show that that character is doesn't have much power. So there are so many other things that we can look at, as well as what you might teach in a novel, for instance.
Interesting.
And yeah, and the themes. I mean, I'm very theme oriented. I look for themes that are very powerful and say something about humanity, about the world, about social issues, and so those kinds of themes as well.
Yeah. Could you tell me a little bit about kind of how you yourself view humanics and how you're able to kind of share that view through film? We've mentioned that's unique, so
Mhm.
kind of like two parts, like how you view it and then how you're able to kind of translate that view to other
Yeah.
people.
So the humanics philosophy encourages professors to educate students in spirit, mind, and body for leadership and service to others. And throughout my career, I've acquainted students with powerful works of literature and film that portray the human condition and convey significant social issues. Some of the courses I've taught have been the American Dream in literature, women in film, political film, science fiction film, and athlete, have inspired students to join lively class discussions and write really interesting papers. Um, and My students love films. The Godfather was a favorite.
Mhm.
Um, I had one student who became my projectionist for the class. Um, and he said, "Gee, my father told me all about The Godfather, but I've never seen it, and we're going to see it." And I said, "Yes." So we saw Godfather 1 and Godfather Part 2. Uh, and, he just, students all loved it and they were raving about it. And, very, very important film. Another one that was beloved is the Shawshank Redemption, which is have you seen it? You seen
Yeah, I've
Shawshank
seen it.
Redemption? Yeah, and that was a real favorite with people, and a favorite with me as well. It just showed so much, the themes in that of, friendship between the main characters, and it these people had, were in a terrible situation in a prison, and the main character was able to make things better within the prison life for everyone. And a lot of it by kind of, sticking his neck out and doing things that other people were afraid to do. And so he united many of the people in the prison community and gave people hope, the theme of hope. So I thought that was a beautiful film, and many of the other students loved it. They also loved On the Waterfront. Um, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with Jimmy Stewart, which is very apropos of kind of what's going on in the world today, where we want to have people who in politics who are um, have ideals and are trying to fight for those ideals and to fight against corruption. And so that's a wonderful film. And then also the film that starred Denzel Washington, Fences. I showed that to the classes and they really enjoyed that very much as well. So, and then, as chair of the Simpson Fine Arts Series, I chose film speakers and panelists for each event held in Fuller Arts and opened the events to the college and the public. And these events include tributes to directors and actors or focused on societal and global issues such as the Iraq War or climate change. And again, students would go to see these events, the evening events as well, and they would write fantastic papers about them.
Yeah, making me rethink some of my class choices. I should have taken some of these classes when I yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Uh,
they were fun for me to teach as well as I think fun for the students.
yeah, they sound like it. Definitely sound interesting. Now, I wanted to shift gears a little bit and ask you about when I was looking into some research for this episode. So, the Northeast Regional Pop Culture Association Conference named an award after you. I think that was in the same year you retired. That happened. So, correct me if I'm wrong there. I think that was the case. And then,
I think
do you,
it was 2014, but I'm not sure. I think so.
yeah,
And I retired in 2015, so it was one of those years.
right around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
Do you
Well,
talk about having that named after you? Because that's a pretty cool thing. And then if you want to talk a little bit about the award, I'm sure you could probably
sure,
talk about.
sure. Yeah, well, I'd been a member of Northeast Regional Popular Culture Association, otherwise known as NIPA, for 30 years, and I had presented many papers on films, including explorations of women as heroes in The English Patient, in Aliens, and in Fargo. I particularly loved the character. Have you seen the original film Fargo? I know there's been a TV
I
series.
haven't seen the original one, no.
Oh gosh, you have to see it. It starred Frances McDormand, who is now up for Best Actress and for Best Picture of Nomadland, which we just saw a couple of nights ago on television, and that has to do with individuals who are um, kind of nomads going through the country, living in their vans and just going from place to place. Um, I think she says in the film something like, people think of us as homeless, um, but they're not homeless. They just don't have a home, or they aren't living in a home. They're living in their vans. Yeah, they don't have a house. And so she's terrific in that film, but she was also terrific in Fargo. Just a very, very interesting character. And we think of female characters. I talked about Aliens, and I talked about Ripley and how great she was as a hero, and strong, and all kinds of athletic ability and that kind of thing. And then when I got to talk about the main character in Fargo, um, it was wonderful because she had lots of great qualities, but she was all dressed in kind of a brown parka and kind of plotted around uh, because she was about 7 or 8 months pregnant, and she was the chief of police, and she was trying to solve this crime. So she was not glamorous, she was not athletically powerful, but she had many qualities such as compassion toward people. And so it was that was I really loved doing those. um, I was also area chair of the film and history for the association, so I would select um, and moderate film panels at all of the fall conferences. And then I did serve as president of the 160 member association. And then also I was able to, some years ago, bring the fall conference to Springfield College. And everyone just loved Springfield College, and thought it was a great place to be. And then I further enjoyed being a member of the Graduate Student Paper Prize Committee for over 20 years. So there were a couple of other members on the committee as well, and we would be sent approximately 20 presentations from students after the conference, and we'd read them, evaluate them, and rank them. And then the winners were given a cash award toward their further studies. And I was truly honored that NEPCA named the award the Carol E. Mitchell Graduate Student Paper Prize during, I think, the Humanics year of 2014. And I treasure the association and its members to this day. I'm still part of it. Um, and I had dear colleagues and friends. And I feel that the award it was just such a blessing, and a part of my legacy for posterity, along with being distinguished professor of humanics. So
Quite the little run there in 2014, 2015. That's
I
great.
know, I know.
This next question, I think I've asked this to every guest or just about every guest that I've had on, and the answers are always really different. So I like being able to ask this question. But I just want to ask, where did your inspiration for your humanics year come from? How did, like, were there people who helped you kind of figure out what you wanted to do and where you wanted to take it? Because it's such a huge project that a lot of people who have been in that position say it can kind of be overwhelming at first. Like, you're really happy to be named, but then you realize you got to do everything that comes with it too.
Well, I felt it was coming at some time, and I did look forward to it. Um, the inspiration for the theme of my year was really based on an extension and amplification of the various film courses I taught, and the work that I did with the William Simpson Fine Arts series. And I knew that expanding creation of awareness of humanics through film was really my goal to
Mm.
do. And I was able to get more funding for events, and so I was able to kind of do the kind of thing I was doing for the classes and for the Simpson Fine Arts series on even a little um, grander level. And I felt that was important to do. Um, and so many people helped me along the way. I so appreciated um, Jean Wild in her capacity as Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Cooper. I think she was kind of new to the college then, and she was very supportive as well. Um, Dean Ann Herzog, who always cheered on my endeavors. Um, our beloved Cindy Hurley, coordinator of academic affairs. She was my rock. My student aide, Vicki Cooley, who was just a wonderful student aide for the year, but she was a friend as well. Um, and I also would give special thanks to the audiovisual department at SC, including Micah Hearn and Steve Gard. They were essential in projecting the films and then trying to do or setting up some interviews with me and then with my students about the various films, which I used in the Humanics address. Um, and then Kelly Gagne and Ann Fisher from marketing, who helped create and promote my events in the past and in that year. And I certainly value the contributions from my fellow distinguished professors of humanics and my colleagues in the humanities department. There were times when we we set up filming going on with the audiovisual, Steve and Mike, and we had students being interviewed as well as me, and we had all the bright lights going on, and some of the people couldn't even get out of their office doors to go to the restroom because we were filming. So, I really thank them for their patience. Uh, and of course, the tireless help and support afforded to me by my dear husband, David, and my loving son, Matthew. They were, boy, I couldn't have done it if they weren't there supporting me along the way. And I'd also give a great thanks to my beloved grandmother for setting me on the course as a film buff, and also my wonderful students and their enthusiasm for film. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's nice to have a long list of people like that to thank.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you mentioned in there your humanics lecture. So I
Mhm.
went back and checked that out myself, and you showed a number of clips to the audience from different movies that you had shown throughout the years. So I thought it'd be nice for people listening if you could just explain what some of the clips were and kind of the reason you decided to show them. That way, people who might listen to this but didn't actually see the presentation can kind of get a feel for it and understand some of your thinking too.
Right, right. Um, well, as I said, I was able to have additional resources for this year. And the three events that I brought to the campus were um, three major film events and then the Humanics address, and all with the theme of experiencing humanics through film. And so I'll just talk about the events and then just go into some of the clips,
Yeah, sure.
further clips. Yeah. So the initial event was a screening of A Better Life, starring the Academy Award nominated Damian Bashir, who demonstrated the heartbreaking plight of undocumented workers in the United States. And I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's really a beautiful film. It's a hardworking single father who's lovingly trying to bring up his son in America, um, who makes one fatal mistake. Because he's undocumented and from Mexico, he's unable to report to the police the theft of his truck. And he needs that truck to do work and be able to support his son. And so what he does is, because he can't go to a policeman and say my truck has been stolen, he finds it in the lot of a chop shop and takes back the truck and is driving it through the street, and then he's stopped by a policeman and is arrested and deported for stealing his own truck. um, and I mean, it's the moving words that he says to his son in the last part of the film as he's about to be deported. It will just break your heart. I mean, he wanted so much to have a good life, for a better life for his son, and that's why they came to America.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that film, we had a lively discussion that was led by Professor Dan Russell and Springfield immigration lawyer Daniel Patrick Morrissey. And I think that film was really instrumental in a lot of my students and probably others who were there to understand the plight of the undocumented workers in the United States. And some students said to me, I always thought, well, they're undocumented, they shouldn't be here, they can't be here, and had very negative thoughts. And one student said to me, I now can see the situation from both sides. And so I thought that was, very important in the audience understanding, two points of view toward undocumented workers that are held in this country today.
Mhm.
And of course, during the pandemic and during the things that have been going on during the Trump presidency, we see that question having to be faced continually. And
Yeah.
now perhaps, Biden is going to be doing some things and is doing some things right now about these conditions and trying to reconcile the children who were separated from their families at the border.
Mhm.
So a second film that I showed that year was a Sporting Chance, The Legacy of Title IX. And that was in celebration of 50 years of women's varsity athletics at Springfield College. Um, and after the film screening, we had a wonderful panel of our SC teacher coaches, Kathy Schweitzer, Naomi Graves, and Kathy Mangano, excuse me, shared very personal and poignant stories of their experiences and their connections to this landmark legislation. So they were very giving to the students in terms of talking about their incidents within their lives and how they dealt with things before Title IX. So, very, and, again, students from Athlete and Film and other students were very interested to hear this. Um, and then another highlight of my Humanics year was the glamorous Oscar Gala featuring Ty Burr, the eminent Boston Globe film critic. And um, he is one of my favorite film critics. I loved Roger Ebert, who passed away some years ago. He was always number one with me, and now there still is a Roger Ebert collaborative of individuals who write, in his name, and are still reviewing films. But Ty Burr is our Globe person, and he was invited to come to the college, and he was a wonderful, he is, he is a wonderful human being. And, he met with my students and came to a seminar of people who were available to come at that time of my film students. And it was great. We talked about everything. And, he wanted to know everybody's favorite film and everything. So very, very interesting. And his presentation in the evening, this was part of a gala. We had a wonderful kind of I call it a happy hour. I guess it was a happy hour with food and drink and everything. And then Ty spoke, and I felt that his presentation was really a culmination of my goals as he educated, informed, and entertained us really thoroughly. His discussion of the academy, its origins and voting practices, which are interesting to people, as well as his incredibly insightful overview of the nominees for Best Film that year. Um, just charmed the audience and delighted and inspired with his knowledge, humor, and film clips. And okay, then so we'll get to the film clips. Actually, I was going to say something else before, and these were a couple of the things that were film clips were shown in my speech. And one that I haven't talked about yet is the film New Year Baby, which was written and directed and starring Soshita Poe, who introduced her powerful documentary featuring her family journey to Cambodia to unlock the secrets of her parents' suffering at the hands of the cruel Khmer Rouge. Another was Last Call at the Oasis, which alerted our SC audience to the conditions of the worldwide water shortage that would be coming. And then we also had some other events. One of them was um, when Steve James came to the college, um, and this was in a few years past, and he showed the film Hoop Dreams, who was about the two young inner city young men who were trying through basketball to live a more successful life. And Steve came to my classes. He ran a Q&A. and then gave an introduction to Hoop Dreams and then presented the film. Um, and then he stayed with us the next day to go to a luncheon because we were celebrating Naismith Week.
Mm.
So very, very wonderful person. And then one of the other events that was key was Mike Eruzione, whom I'm sure you know from Miracle on Ice. He was part of, the wonderful team and who defeated the Russians. And he came to the college and introduced the film. And he talked about the leadership of Coach Herb Brooks. And that was so he would talk about leadership qualities and also qualities of determination and hard work, and how these were the ways and being part of a team. And these were really great subjects for my athlete and film class, because we had been looking at a lot of films with coaches, and we were kind of analyzing the qualities of each of the coaches and their methodology, and kind of figuring out which one might be the best coach. So that was wonderful. And Mike is a celebrity, and when he called me up, I was sitting in my office one day just before he was going to come to the college, and he said, "Hi, this is Mike. I'm calling from Vegas." And I almost fell off the chair. I was so shocked. Mike is calling me from Vegas, and he he was at a celebrity golf tournament, and he was just telling me that he would like to do the intro to the film. And he was also at the little pre-party that we organized for students and faculty as well, and people from the newspaper. But he said he'd like to give the speech beforehand, because he had to catch another plane to go somewhere else for another event. So that was really fun. So I certainly enjoyed those people and their presentations. They were fabulous. And then other clips. One was from Restrepo, and that was a film that I showed at the William Simpson event, and also um, uh, had students write papers about. And it was a powerful documentary that was filmed in Afghanistan. And that film allowed us to see through the eyes of American soldiers and what was actually happening on the ground there in Afghanistan, and the um, all of the chaos and the fear and the courage of people there. So that was a fabulous film that I showed a clip from. Another was Up the Yangtze, which chronicled the forced displacement from their homes of 2 million Chinese people in order for the government to build the massive Three Gorges Dam. And that was heartbreaking at points. And then also the the wonderful Telluride mountain film, which I brought to campus for many, many years. And this is a festival that is compiled of different shorter works that were shown there, at Telluride film festivals. And they included extreme sports, which of course my students loved. Uh, and so we saw Alex Honnold doing free climbing, and we saw visits to exotic locales, and also environmentally focused critical social issues. So the students always loved this exam, and especially that was great for the body component of the Springfield College triangle. So it was well received. Um, and then I feel that an extremely important part of my humanics lecture, with the help of the audiovisual department, was to highlight and share with the audience the work of many of my students by having them interviewed and filmed, and giving their heartfelt responses to the films and discussions as they sat just outside my office in a lovely chair. And we were able to use these clips within the speech to show how they were reacting and appreciating the films and thinking about them, and just to see and hear their intellectual growth and critical thinking and realize the depth of their emotions and hearts was a wonderful experience for me and a great credit to them.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
cool. It's really cool too how you were able to bring in so many people from outside of the college, like bring them to campus and have them share experiences with students. Because it wasn't just like one person for you, like you brought in multiple people.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a miracle to go back to that film.
It was,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
No, it was, and I mean, you know, it's funny because the one Sashita Poe who had the film about Cambodia, um, asked me to just write something, about her, and some of my students wrote something about her, and she then took the statements that we made about her film and put them up in her promotions to be able to go to further places. So I mean, it was people were just so willing to come. They loved the college. It was you know really a great thing, I think, for all of us at the college to enjoy. um, and I just felt that through these films and through the people coming, that I was really happy to open the hearts and minds of the audience to the possibilities of becoming aware, compassionate citizens with qualities of leadership, empathy, and a strong desire to be involved in service to humanity. So, um, wow, what, as I said, great career.
yeah, no, definitely.
I had fun. I had fun. I
I
worked hard, but I had fun.
It does sound like it. A
Yeah.
couple more things before I let you go. I wanted to ask, so you've been retired for a couple of years, but does humanics still kind of play a role in your life? I don't know, like, you don't wake up every day and just think about the humanics philosophy, but having been,
I try.
does it still kind of apply to you and like, you kind of keep it in mind from time to time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My retirement has been, even though it's the pandemic, it's been extremely busy. As I've said, I've been able to watch a lot of movies directly on TV, because I think we subscribe to every channel there is on television, and so I get to see a lot of the latest films. I get to read a lot of books, which is wonderful. But I've found many ways to continue practicing the humanics philosophy. One way is that I teach a film course to seniors each month at our local Sturbridge Senior Center. And so I bring in a film, we watch it, and then we have a discussion for about 45 minutes or so. And they fully enjoy the films and the ability to have discussions. And one thing that just broke my heart was on March 11th, 2020, just before the total pandemic shut down. Um, we had class, and um, the person who runs the senior center said to me, Carol, you're not going to have too many people today because a lot of the members' daughters have been calling and saying, I don't want my mother to go out to any events. Um, and I think we shut down, when was it, about the 16th or so,
Yeah,
just
a
before St.
couple of
Patty's
days
Day.
right after that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, one of my favorites, Marilyn, came in and she said that her senior living community had just canceled their St. Patrick's Day party and their daily happy hours.
Mm.
And she had tears coming down her eyes as she said that she was so grateful to come to our film event that day for discussion and the camaraderie that she was feeling she could no longer have at her own facility. And so I called Marilyn several times, through the pandemic, checked to see if she was okay, and got in touch with some of my others. And we're probably going to start up in the fall, I guess, again. But people have gotten in touch with me and said, "Oh, what are the good films that you're seeing now?" And let me know. And so I value that so much. I really value that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then other endeavors include serving as political action chair of our Sturbridge Democratic Town Committee, and we meet by Zoom, of course, during the pandemic. And I was also elected to attend state political conventions as a delegate. Have a lovely picture with my husband David and I and Elizabeth Warren. So that's a real wonderful reminder and of that time. And I'm just thinking, what a year 2020 has been. My beliefs in furthering the ideals of truth, uh, social, economic, and racial equity, compassion, and empathy have made me a driven individual. I've been working on campaigns, contributing and informing the Sturbridge Democratic Town Committee to support candidates nationwide for the 2020 election. And one of the fun highlights, a lot of work there, but one of the fun highlights was being on a Zoom political trivia night with John Ossoff of Georgia.
Yeah.
And actually, I wound up in the square right next to him for the whole Zoom meeting. So I was like, whoa, it was really fun. It was really fun. And then other services, I'm on the Sturbridge Library, Joshua Hyde Library Board of Trustees, as well as it's 125th Library Anniversary Celebration Events Committee. I currently head up the library Winter Film Festival coming for 2021, and we're going to feature the films of Frank Capra, wonderful director, who was born in 1897, which was the year that our library was born. So, and I just can't wait to lead the discussion on Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. So looking at the ideals of truth, honor, courage, determination, and compassion in politics. Yay.
You're definitely staying busy. You'll be even busier too when you can leave the house to do some of these things.
I
Hopefully,
know, I
that's
know.
that's a nice story about
Right.
the senior center too. It's sad, but it's a nice story. So hopefully that class
Well,
can start again.
yeah, yeah. I mean, these people are just so wonderful. They bring so many different, come from so many different walks of life, and the comments that they make. I mean, I have always loved my students at the college, but um, I showed a film called 500 Days of Summer, which I showed to my students as well, and the seniors, looked at it, and there was one man in the group who said, I'm that person. That's my life. Women are always rejecting me, So I, nobody would have said that at Springfield College. So I mean, and then another woman said something about another film, and oh, that husband is just like my husband. He's awful, isn't he? So, believe me, I get a lot of enjoyment and fun, working with people, because they are just so honest. They'll come out with all kinds of things.
Yeah. You miss going to movie theaters? You still like to go to the movie theater when you could? Because I know
I do, but I just heard, and I was really sad. I go walking with one of my friends around our circle, and she told me that our Sturbridge movie theater, which took years to be built and was open through this time, and nobody was going to it.
Mhm.
And she said that they're going to close in May, and I'm thinking, why are they going to close in May? So I mean, if we have to go to the movies, out to the movies, we need to go to Worcester area or Springfield area, so it's kind of a ride for us
Yeah.
for us from Sturbridge. So I mean, we've been blessed with being able to see the latest films like Nomadland and One Night in Miami, which is really, really wonderful, um, and directed by Regina King. And so we've been able to see a lot of these from the television. So I don't know what's going to happen when things open up. Whether I hope that theaters will succeed and survive, because it's certainly a great experience, to be in a theater among other people and enjoying a film together. Um, but I have survived by having all these television channels.
Yeah.
Uh,
Easier to see stuff now than ever before. Got it access
yeah,
to everything. So that's a good thing at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
Before I let you go, and this has been fun. I appreciate the time. I'll have you tell the audience who preceded you as humanics professor and who's going to be on next. So I'll let you take that away there, and then we'll be all set.
Okay, well, Dr. Charles Reddington will be your next invitee, and He served at the college for many, many years in the biology department, and certainly is deserving of many awards and for all the hard work that he's done, and certainly a great professor and teacher. And I know that the work that he did, um, with he certainly looked over the whole campus and identified a lot of the trees and vegetation on the campus, and made us all more aware of you know what was around us, and even on our own campus, and in other ways very contributed in other significant ways to the campus. He was a dear friend, and um, I think he's still living in Florida now. I'm not sure, but I certainly hope he's been having a good life.
Yeah, we'll be transitioning from film to biology. You never know what's coming
Right,
next.
right. Well, my husband is an environmental person, so consultant. So I know the sciences, or at
I got
least,
a little touch of
yeah,
that field.
yeah, exactly. Wow, wow. Well, Danny, this has been, a great pleasure to talk to you today. Um, it's just been fantastic, and to kind of relive my time, being distinguished professor of humanics at the college, and look back to a lot of these events, and I thank you so much for allowing me to do so today. And I give a shout out to all the other distinguished professors who are going to be working with you. They're working with a very talented person, and we're fortunate to have you doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.